How do you create an interface that looks organized, is easy to navigate, and responds to the device that it's being used on? Well, the answer is by creating a responsive grid layout. As we mentioned in the previous video on responsive design, it's important for a design to expand or contract to fit the user's screen. And to do that, you need to set column widths in your grid in percentages and not in pixels. So why not use pixels? Well, let's say you make a column that's 1,000 pixels wide and your tablet only has 964 pixels of real estate. Well, the content on your screen will get cut off. And this is definitely not going to give your user a good experience. Once you have responsive columns that use percentages, you also need to determine how elements should be arranged based on screen size. And to do that, you can use something called Flex Layout. The XMPRO Learning YouTube channel has a great tutorial on Flex Layout, and I highly recommend that you watch it. I've added a link to it in the description below this video. Let's dive a bit deeper into grid layouts. So when you're designing your app interface, you will probably have multiple pages that you need to create layouts for. So I recommend creating a grid layout with percentage-based columns for each page in your app. And then you want to add consistent gutters between the columns and the rows to give you an organized structure to work within. So using grids to give structure to your design is an age-old practice that comes from the world of print media. It does take some practice to fit your UI elements into these percentage-based columns, but eventually you will get the hang of it. And until you do, XMPRO has some useful templates in the App Designer library that you can use to give you a head start. Now that you've divided your page into a grid layout, it's time to look at margins and padding. The diagram you see on the right is called the box model in CSS. All HTML elements are created in this way. So you have a box that contains your content. Then you have padding around the box, which is an area that adds space between your text or image and the edge of the box. Content and padding sit inside of the box. Then you have a border, which sits just on the edge of the box. And the space outside the border is called margin. Adding padding and margin to elements helps to create a more organized interface with room to breathe. One of the most important things to consider when adding margins and padding to elements in your interface is to use them consistently. It's common practice to use 8-pixel increments for padding and margin to create consistency. It'll make your content easier to read, and in my opinion, it just looks better. If you look at the image on the right, you'll see that the white spaces to the top and left of the icon are each 16 pixels. And at the bottom where it says the number 3 and 1, there are actually 16 pixels of padding to the right and to the bottom. So basically we've added a consistent 16 pixels around the inside of the box. So that's our introduction to grids. I hope you got some insights into why it's important to create your layout using a percentage-based grid. This will help you when it comes to creating a responsive design that can adapt based on the size of the screen it's being viewed on. It'll also help you create an interface that's organized and easy to navigate. And now you know how to use consistent margins and paddings between your elements. Now let's take a look at the next video to learn how to create visual hierarchy.